Ömer, good to have you with us now. Thank you for joining us, first of all. Would you agree that SDF's capture of Rakka marks a symbolic demise of ISIL's rule, or will the fight go on and will ISIL morph into an insurgency?
So the loss of Rakka is certainly a defeat for ISIS, like Mosul, which was captured by the Iraqi army and Hashtishabi militias, or Al-Bab, which was captured by the FSA and Turkish armed force. But it's not a demise. ISIS has a history of going underground and reorganizing itself and coming back when the time and the situation is ready. For example, after the oppression of Nur al-Maliki against the Sunni Arabs in Iraq and the repression of Bashar al-Assad against the Syrian opposition, the bloody repression, ISIS came back from the underground and captured Mosul and many areas in Syria and Iraq. So we cannot say that they are finished now. They will try to reorganize themselves. The capture of Rakka by the YPG was also considered by locals as occupation. So they said the flags changed only, and Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was replaced with Abdullah Öcalan. And this area was fully destroyed by airstrikes. At all, 4,108 airstrikes were conducted over Rakka, and the ideological approach of YPG, like showing a huge flag of Abdullah Öcalan by the declaration of the capture of Rakka, will alienate the locals in Rakka. At all of this, the destruction and the local view towards the new governors, the YPG, will help ISIS to come back when the time is ready for it. And we will see in the future that the US decision to work with the YPG in Rakka will be come out as a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm. Now, the US-led Operation Inherent Resolve seems to lack a political track to supplement its military gains on the ground. There is no political vision of what is supposed to happen once ISIL is defeated. The SDF controls Rakka now, but do you think President Bashar al-Assad's ultimate aim is to regain control over the entire country?
So it's true that the US has no political vision for Syria, and it's uncertain how long the US will stay in Syria. But we cannot say the same for the YPG. They have a clear political agenda. They are the Syrian branch of the PKK, which has a political view, a Marxist leftist ideology, and they will try to impose this ideology in northern Syria, so-called democratic federalism, confederalism by Abdullah Öcalan. And the most dangerous part of this is that the PKK sees their aerial control in northern Syria only as a step to achieve their greater goal, to have to control the territory claimed by them in Iraq, in Syria, in Turkey, and in Iran, to establish their Marxist government. And on the other side, the Assad regime, they might dream of capturing all of Syria back, but it seems to be impossible. Even these Russians don't have any plans to capture all of Syria back by force, and therefore we will see how this will be resolved. And in the long term, a new war with armies of the regional countries like Turkey, Iran, or even Saudi Arabia can emerge. And the YPG, supplied with heavy armored vehicles and heavy weapons, will be always threatened Syria, Turkey, Iraq, and Iran.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Syrian quagmire is far from over, and that may eventually fuel the flames of new dissent, angry forms of opposition, and perhaps even new manifestations of extremism. Do you see Syria being sliced into Russian, Iranian, and Turkish zones of interest?
So Russia and Iran has to say many things in Syria. So Bashar al-Assad is only a puppet and a symbol, and local warlords and Russia and Iran are deciding over the soil in Syria. And Turkey, on the other side, has a huge influence over the Syrian revolutionary factions, and this will weaken the former central government, the Assad regime, in the long term. And with a weak situation and many foreign actors involved in Syria, new kind of extremism, a new kind of opposition, and even new wars are expectable. And I don't think that the war in Syria will end soon.
Now, Iraq's military says it has achieved its objectives in a lightning-quick operation that saw troops sweep through Kirkuk. Do you consider this a closed case, or do you think the Peshmerga will try to retake Kirkuk given its strategic and economic importance?
So, I mean, this is Iraq, and nothing is impossible in Iraq. We have seen this in recent time. But therefore, it's hard to make long-term projections. But in the short and middle term, it's impossible for the Peshmerga to have a military presence in Kirkuk or to even capture military Kirkuk back from the Iraqi central government. But politically, the PUK has made a deal with the Iraqi central government, and we don't know the details of the deal. So, but it seems like that the PUK will have a political role in Kirkuk in the future, and Iran also wants to strengthen the PUK to expand its influence over Iraqi Kurds. But the deal brokered between the Iraqi central government and the PUK was seen by local Kurds as a betrayal, a situation by the PUK against the Kurdish independence referendum. So therefore, the PUK has lost many popular support in Kirkuk. And on the other side, the KDP, they are now fighting a war for their survival, and they will try to come out of this quagmire as best as possible.
Mm-hmm. Now, Syrian Security Chief Ali Memlouk, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov, and PKK leader Murat Karayilan recently met in Kamishli in northern Syria. Do you think there's a secret tactical alliance between the Assad government, the PKK, and Moscow?
So, from the view of Moscow, the Syrian Kurds play a card they want to play, and they try to gain their leadership role from the US. So, Russia tries to use Turkish traitors as a vehicle to have a more influence over the PKK in the long term. They expect that the US will go out of the area so they can have a new approach to the Syrian Kurds. But we don't know how this will evolve because of the YPG has become a proxy of the United States of America, and Russia is trying to maintain its influence in Afrin. So we can say that the YPG areas controlled from Manbij to Haseke are under US influence, and the YPG territories in Afrin, in Aleppo, are controlled under Russian influence. And they will try to achieve a kind of agreement to solve this without a war.
Mm-hmm. Right. Ömer, thank you so much for speaking to us. It was a pleasure having you on Al Jazeera.
It's a pleasure for me. Thank you.